Here's my review of Spaceman. I thought that this movie was actually pretty good. And one of the things that I think I really like the most about this is an Adam Sandler movie that just feels like he's actually trying to act. Like this is definitely more of a serious role where in this he plays a Czechoslovakian cosmonaut named Jacob Jacob Projaska, probably butchered that name, but as he's alone on this spaceship. And I thought that it was really good. And I think that, okay, one thing that kind of also threw me off is they explain how like he grew up on this farm in Czechoslovakia, but like he doesn't have an accent at all. I mean, I don't, what? I didn't get that part. They didn't really explain it, but I thought that this movie was pretty good. Visually, it's also very beautiful. A lot of this movie is Jacob kind of not necessarily like he's very just lonely. And I think that's what this movie does a very good job is like you care about him because and it's almost very sad to watch because I mean you do yourself watching this movie feel the sense of emptiness and loneliness. And I think that it was all done very effectively. And Adam Sandler is genuinely good in this movie. So I just kind of added on to it and just made it a little bit better. And then there's also this talking spider who is voiced by Paul Dano. And it's interesting because in this movie, you're kind of trying to properly figure out like, is this spider real? Are you just hallucinating it? It's a very interesting concept where this whole time, like when we're with Jacob, you could clearly tell that he's kind of just not necessarily going crazy, but just like a little out of it. Like, because I mean, he's just been alone by himself for so long. But I think that it's just interesting. But at the same time, I mean, this is a world where, I mean, it's not super unlikely, but I think that it was done very well. And Paul Dano is great as voicing just this talking spider. It was awesome. And like I said, like I think that I like one thing I like about this movie is I always love these kind of movies where it's like these one location movies where the whole time we're just following this one character. I mean, there are other characters, but it's just Adam Sandler on this like spacecraft, and it just feels very small, but also it allows because it's not very plot driven. It allows for the characters to feel more fleshed out, and like this is a character that I'm interested in. And I mean, I always feel like I have a complicated relationship with Adam Sandler movies where when I was a kid, I absolutely loved his movies. And then I think he kind of fell off. But I mean, recently, within maybe like the past 5, 10-ish years, he's definitely, I feel like, improved a lot. I genuinely do think that he has given some great performances in his career, specifically a movie like Click, a personal favorite of mine. And I think it's these movies like this that I'm like, I think he still got it, and I would love to see him do these more dramatic roles, and which is why I quite enjoyed this movie. Was it's small, but it felt more personal. And a lot of times, like we'll see these flashbacks with his wife, and she's pregnant, and he's saying how when he's even talking to Hannes the spider, it's like he's talking about like, am I even gonna get a chance to see this kid? And it just gives you that sense of sadness and loneliness, which it's very weird. Like that's the whole thing when I'm thinking about this movie. It's like this is an Adam Sandler movie, and I feel like I've never seen an Adam Sandler movie where it's just feels like such an interesting question and feels so deep of just like at the same time so simplistic of just kind of loneliness. It's very interesting. And Carrie Mulligan as his wife Lenka is great. I mean, even though I wasn't a really big fan of it, like in Maestro from last year, she was also great in that. And yeah, she's great here as well. And visually, this movie is gorgeous, especially like anytime when they're in space, you're just like, all the colors are beautiful. And it's interesting, like, you're getting connected to this spider. Like, this is a talking spider, and I feel bad for it. There are scenes where, like, no, Jacob, I want you to save this spider. I don't even know if it's real, but I want this spider to be saved. And I mean, I always say any movie that can get me intrigued and wanting and feeling bad for a character that's almost absurd, I'm like, major props to that. And visually, I think there's a bunch of creative visuals in here. Like, just doing things like this are always just like simple little tricks like this just make a movie less boring to watch, and just at least from a visual perspective. And I think that this is a movie where the ending, it kind of also feels very emotional, as in a way, I mean, he is stuck there. He is going to die. And this movie is only an hour and 49 minutes. It's very short, but I think in this not it's not like a short film, but in this like shorter film, I think it did a good job of getting me invested in all these characters. And overall, I thought this was just a pretty solid movie. And I mean, like, it's definitely way better than I expected. So yeah, overall, I thought it was pretty good.